The Tain plantation stood like a bright white jewel against the green landscape of South Carolina's Lowcountry. Its tall columns reached toward the sky as if in prayer, though no amount of devotion could cleanse the dark deeds that took place within its walls. In the summer of 1836, the estate was praised across Charleston as a symbol of success. Its rice fields brought in rich harvests, its horses were admired and envied by nearby planters, and its mistress, Tain, earned respect for keeping the estate thriving even after becoming a widow. Ella had buried her husband, Colonel William Tain, 3 winters earlier. Most widows might have fallen under the heavy burden of managing such a vast property, but she had flourished instead. Under her rule, the plantation's output grew, leaving Charleston's upper class quietly puzzled. "Mrs. Tain, you continue to amaze us," Judge Heil remarked during a summer gathering on the veranda. "Your cotton yield has even surpassed the Pinckney plantation this year." Eleanor, a woman of 45 with once beautiful features now sharpened by age, smiled politely. "God provides for those who provide for themselves, Judge Heil," she replied calmly. What the judge and the rest of society did not see was how La provided for herself. Behind the grand mansion, past the trimmed gardens where her 3 daughters entertained their callers, stood a separate building hidden by a grove of live oaks. The enslaved people called it the breeding house, though never where white ears might hear. That night, after the guests had left and twilight settled over the plantation, Lanena retired to her study. Her ledgers lay open on a mahogany desk. Silas Webb, the plantation's overseer, a large, rough man with sun-darkened hands, stood before her, hat clutched tightly. "The new girl arrived from the Dalton auction," he said. "Strong, healthy, should bring a fine price from her first child." Lanena nodded without looking up from her papers. "Have her examined by Dr. Parnell tomorrow. I won't pay extra if she's barren." Her quill scratched across the page in steady rhythm. "And what of Mercy's child?" she asked coldly. "Born this morning, a healthy boy, the right size." A thin smile crossed her lips. "Excellent. That makes 3 this month. The Georgia traders will be pleased." What went unspoken was that Mercy was not enslaved at all. She was the handmaiden of Lanena's own daughter, only 16. The girl had been forced to conceive under her mistress's orders. The infant would be listed as a slave, his mother's name erased from record. In the East Wing, Lanena's 3 daughters, Caroline, Josephine, and Beatrice, prepared for bed, each holding private fears. Caroline, 22, gazed out her window toward the slave quarters, her hand resting unconsciously on her stomach. Josephine, 20, wrote feverishly in a small journal she kept hidden under a floorboard. Beatrice, just 17, cried softly into her pillow, frightened of her mother's plans for her upcoming birthday. None of them noticed the young house slave watching from the shadows near the oak grove. His name was Isaiah. His sister had disappeared into Lanena's breeding program 3 months earlier, and he had purposely allowed himself to be sold to the Tain estate for one reason: to find her and escape if possible. The cicadas screamed through the humid night as a storm gathered in the distance. By morning, rain would fall over Tain Plantation, but it would be nothing compared to the flood of secrets waiting to surface. Isaiah's first morning began before dawn, his body aching from the long trip from Virginia. He had been brought along with 5 other men at the Charleston market, chosen for their strength and endurance. As he scrubbed the marble floors under the watch of Agatha, the head house servant, he listened for any mention of his sister Ruth. "Keep your head down and your ears open in this house," Agatha whispered, barely audible. "Curiosity can kill you here." Isaiah nodded quietly and continued working, his eyes lowered but his mind alert. By mid-morning, he was reassigned to the stables, where he met Jonas, an older man who had lived on the plantation for nearly 30 years. Jonas's weary eyes reflected the weight of too many horrors. "You're new," Jonas said as they cleaned the stalls. "Where you from?" "Virginia," Isaiah answered cautiously. "Hanover County." Jonas nodded slightly, glancing around for overseers. "You got a reason you came here? Most men lately got a reason." Before Isaiah could reply, Silas Webb appeared, boots muddy from the rain. Both men immediately lowered their gaze and worked faster. "You," Webb barked at Isaiah. "Mrs. Tain wants the new stock checked. Take this message to Dr. Parnell in town." He handed Isaiah a sealed letter. The errand was an unexpected gift. For the first time, Isaiah could leave the estate's limits. Maybe he could learn something useful, or at least remember the road for an escape route later. The walk to Charleston took nearly an hour. Dr. Parnell's office sat near the harbor, marked with a polished brass plate. Isaiah handed the envelope to a pale assistant who said, "Wait here," before disappearing inside. Isaiah used the moment to study the street. Two white men nearby spoke quietly. "Tain's widow is sending another dozen next week," one said, checking his pocket watch. "Fine stock, even if a bit young," the other replied. "Her breeding program is the most efficient in the state." Isaiah's heart pounded. His worst fears were true. The Tain plantation had turned into a breeding ground since the international slave trade was banned. His sister could truly be trapped there, forced to bear children that would be sold away. When the assistant returned with another sealed note for Mrs. Tain, Isaiah began his journey back, taking a slightly different path. Behind the main house, past the gardens, he saw the hidden building. It had glass windows covered by heavy drapes. A white woman, not enslaved, entered carrying what looked like medical tools. That night, when the others slept, Isaiah met Phyllis, an elderly kitchen worker who had shown him kindness. Behind the smokehouse, where the smell of curing meat masked their whispers, he asked, "My sister, Ruth. She came here 3 months ago. Do you know of her?" Phyllis's tired face fell. "That building you saw, they call it an infirmary for polite folks. That's where the breeding women are kept." "Is she there?" Isaiah asked, his voice trembling. Phyllis nodded sadly. "Yes, but whatever you plan, stop. No one leaves that place. Mrs. Tain has the law, the church, and the gun on her side." "What about her daughters?" Isaiah pressed. Phyllis hesitated. "Caroline's just like her mother. Josephine writes too much. Dangerous habit. Beatrice, the youngest, she's next in line. When she turns 18, Phyllis froze. "Someone's coming. Go." Isaiah melted into the dark as the watchman's lantern swayed past. Sleep never came. Phyllis's words echoed in his mind. The Tain plantation was more monstrous than he imagined, and at its heart was a cruelty that no law or faith could justify. Upstairs, Josephine Tain's hands shook as she lifted the loose floorboard beneath her bed. The house was quiet. Her mother was in the study balancing accounts. Caroline entertained a guest in the parlor. Beatrice had cried herself to sleep after another talk about her duties to the family. Josephine took out her small leather journal and ink pen. August the 17th, 1836. Another girl sent to the infirmary today. Her name, Ruth. 17 women there now. Mother ordered special food for them, meat and molasses. Dr. Parnell visits twice a week. She paused, remembering what she discovered months earlier. Her father's death had not been natural. In her mother's private ledger, hidden from public records, she found 20 years of breeding records, each pairing planned like an experiment. Selected women forced into pregnancies. Her mother mixed bloodlines, seeking control over the children's traits. Worst of all, her own sisters' names appeared. Caroline in charge of maternal health. Beatrice listed for induction at 18. A knock startled her. She hid the journal quickly. "Yes?" she called. Esther, a house slave, entered. "Miss Caroline asked you to come to the parlor. Mr. Blackwood and his brother have arrived." "I'll be down," Josephine said. Downstairs, the parlor glowed with candlelight. Caroline laughed beside Thomas Blackwood, while his younger brother, Lieutenant James Blackwood, stood nearby, straight-backed and serious. "Miss Tain," he said politely, bowing. "Your sister has spoken highly of you." "Caroline exaggerates," Josephine replied. "I hear you've served on the frontier, Lieutenant. Quite an adventure, I imagine." As he spoke, Josephine noticed Isaiah entering quietly with a tray. Their eyes met briefly, just long enough for her to sense something unusual about him. He moved with purpose. Then Ella Lenina Tain entered the room, perfectly composed, her timing exact. "Lieutenant," she said warmly, though her eyes remained cold. "How fortunate to have you tonight. I understand your family's plantation borders our southern fields. Perhaps tomorrow you might tour ours. We use some very modern methods I think you'll find enlightening." Josephine's heart sank. Her mother never invited outsiders to see the estate unless she had a plan. That night she wrote, "Mother is interested in Lieutenant Blackwood. Beatrice's birthday approaches. Whatever she intends, I must stop it. Perhaps the new servant Isaiah might help. Something about him feels different." Outside, thunder rumbled again over the coast, an omen of the storm soon to come. Dr. Maxwell Parnell was methodical, his instruments spotless, his records exact. Those habits made him indispensable to Ella Lenina's secret operation. The building called the infirmary held 12 rooms, each with 1 or 2 women. 16 women total, 3 due soon, 4 recently delivered. Subject 23 shows good recovery, he noted. Milk production normal, infant thriving. Ruth, subject 23, sat in a rocking chair, nursing her 10-day-old child, her spirit broken by the knowledge that soon he would be taken. "Mrs. Tain wants her ready for the next cycle by November," Nurse Hammond said coldly. Their work paused when a servant brought a note. "Mrs. Tain requests your presence at dinner tonight. The Blackwood brothers will attend. She wishes to discuss their bloodlines." Dr. Parnell only nodded. He no longer asked questions. The research was too precious, and the payment far too generous to ignore. Later that night, he stopped outside a locked door at the end of the hallway. Unlike the other rooms, this one had no window. Only he and Ella Lana had keys to it. Inside were rows of glass jars, each holding what was left from failed experiments, deformed infants, stillbirths, and unfinished crossings. Eleanor had insisted on keeping them for study. Neat records were stacked beside them, every page carefully written. What no one else knew was that some of those specimens came from Eleanor's own family line. The horror at the Tain plantation went far beyond slavery, sinking into something even darker. Eleanor was trying to control her family's bloodline, creating what she called stronger, superior humans. Outside, Isaiah worked in the garden, hearing voices through the open windows. The planned tour for Lieutenant Blackwood had started. Eleanor showed off her rice and cotton fields. "Your irrigation system is impressive, Mrs. Tain," Blackwood said. "I must say, I'm amazed by your skill." "Necessity brings innovation, Lieutenant," she answered smoothly. "When my husband passed, many thought a woman could never manage this land. I meant to prove them wrong." "And you surely have," he replied. "Your crops are the pride of the county." Eleanor smiled, but her smile was sharp and knowing. "You haven't yet seen our most profitable work. Perhaps after dinner, if you're interested, animal husbandry." Isaiah froze where he stood. The animal husbandry building was the breeding house. Was she truly planning to show that to a military man? During dinner, Isaiah watched carefully from the side. Caroline was charming Thomas Blackwood while Josephine sat beside James, looking uneasy. Beatrice, the youngest, barely ate, flinching every time someone spoke to her. "I hear your family has long believed in selective breeding," Eleanor said over dessert. "Your father's racehorses are famous, are they not?" "Yes, ma'am," James replied politely. though our stable master deserves most of the credit. I've been away far too long. But you understand the principle, Eleanor said. Choosing the best traits and keeping strong bloodlines. She smiled. After dinner, I'll show you something few outsiders ever see. Isaiah almost dropped the tray in his hands. He had to warn Phyllis and Josephine. That tour would surely include the infirmary, where his sister was being held. He whispered to Phyllis in the kitchen. She's showing him the breeding house tonight. Phyllis's eyes widened. Then she's planning to bring him into it. No one sees that place unless they're already part of the secret. I need to get in, Isaiah said urgently. You'll get yourself killed, and her too, Phyllis warned. She handed him a small key. This opens the back door to the washhouse. It connects to the infirmary through a tunnel. If you're caught, all of us will pay. Outside, the storm grew worse, thunder shaking the ground. Isaiah knew this might be his only chance to reach his sister Ruth, but what waited inside the infirmary would be more terrible than anything he could imagine, a horror that went beyond slavery, touching the very heart of humanity itself. Beatrice sat staring into her mirror, eyes hollow, barely recognizing her reflection. In less than 6 weeks, she would turn 18. Her mother had made it clear what that meant. New gowns, a strict diet, constant visits from Dr. Parnell, all to prepare her for her duty to the family. A soft knock broke her thoughts. Josephine came in, closing the door behind her. "We need to talk," she whispered, "about Mother's plans for you." Beatrice's hands trembled. "I can't, Josie, I just can't." Josephine sat beside her. "Listen, what happened to Caroline? What's happening in the infirmary? It's part of something awful. Mother isn't just breeding the enslaved. She's—" "I know," Beatrice cut in. "Caroline said it's my duty to the family, to our bloodline. Father started it all before I was born." Josephine's face turned pale. "Caroline told you that? That our father began this? Choosing traits in people, in livestock, even in us?" Beatrice's voice broke. "She said it was science. Mother is only continuing his work. The Tain line must be made perfect." "It's monstrous," Josephine hissed, "and I won't let it happen to you." Lightning flashed outside, throwing long shadows on the walls. Rain beat against the windows like desperate hands. Josephine pulled a small journal from her pocket. "I've been keeping notes. Everything I've seen, heard. Mother's ledgers, Dr. Parnell's visits, the women in the infirmary, and now she's bringing Lieutenant Blackwood into it." Beatrice's eyes widened. "What does he have to do with it?" "I don't know yet," Josephine said. "Mother never lets outsiders near those rooms unless she has plans for them. We'll need help. I think the new house servant, Isaiah, might be the only one who can." Beatrice shook her head. "A slave? Are you mad? If she finds out—" "He's only here to find his sister," Josephine said softly. "And tonight, while Mother is busy, he's going to try to reach her." A floorboard creaked in the hall. They froze, listening. After a long silence, footsteps faded away. "We must be careful," Beatrice whispered. "Caroline tells Mother everything. Agatha, too. She's Mother's eyes and ears. But not all the servants are loyal. Phyllis is helping Isaiah." Josephine looked out at the rain-streaked glass. "Have you ever wondered about our births?" she asked quietly. Beatrice frowned. "What do you mean?" "Mother bore us all, didn't she?" "Did she?" Josephine said softly. "I read Father's journals. He wrote about surrogates, host women. I think maybe we were born from that same program." The words hung between them, too terrible to believe. If it were true, they themselves were the results of their parents' experiments. Their real mothers might still be trapped in that place below the house. Before they could speak again, there came a soft tap at the door, Phyllis's signal. But when Josephine opened it, she found Isaiah instead, drenched and shaking. "Miss Josephine," he whispered, "your mother's taking the lieutenant to the infirmary right now. I need your help to get my sister out." Josephine looked at Beatrice, who nodded. "We'll help you," she said, "but you must help us expose what's happening here." "There's more," Isaiah said quickly. "I found a hidden room beneath the infirmary, jars and records with your family names." Beatrice made a small, broken sound. Josephine steadied herself and said, Show us everything." They slipped into the storm together, moving unseen through the flooded gardens. The wash house stood low and dark ahead. Inside, Isaiah pushed aside a heavy copper tub, revealing a trap door. "Phyllis told me about this," he said, "a tunnel used by servants to move unseen." They descended into the cold tunnel, lantern light flickering off the brick walls. After 50 yards, it split into two paths. The right led to the infirmary. The left, Isaiah had never gone there. "We'll take the left first," Josephine said. "If it leads to Mother's secret room, that's where the proof will be." At the end of the left tunnel stood a thick oak door. Josephine tried several keys until one clicked. Inside was a small chamber lined with glass cabinets. Rows of jars filled the shelves. A desk stood in the middle, covered in papers and strange instruments. The air smelled of chemicals and decay. Beatrice gasped and stumbled back. "Oh God," she whispered. Each jar held a tiny human form, carefully labeled with dates, parentage, and cause of termination. "These are Dr. Parnell's notes," Josephine said, flipping through a book. "He's been experimenting with selective breeding using the enslaved." Isaiah leaned closer. "These records go back 20 years, before your mother took charge." Josephine's eyes widened. "Then Father began it, and Mother made it her life's work." She turned another page and froze. "Isaiah, these aren't all from enslaved women." She pointed at pages marked with the family crest. "Some came from surrogates carrying children for this family." Voices echoed from the right-hand tunnel, Eleanor's and Lieutenant Blackwood's. "We must hide," Isaiah hissed, blowing out the lantern. "No," Josephine said, her voice calm and cold. "This ends tonight. I'll take these records. They're proof of everything." She packed ledgers into a canvas sack and handed it to Beatrice. "Hide these under my floorboards. If we don't return by morning, take them to Judge Holloway in Charleston." Beatrice nodded, eyes full of fear, and vanished into the tunnel. Josephine and Isaiah crept toward the infirmary. They heard voices through the open doorway. "The breeding program yields about 30 infants a year," Eleanor said, as calmly as if she were discussing crops. "With careful selection, birth weight has risen 12%, and infant loss is under 5, she continued. Blackwood's voice followed. "Remarkable. And the women, they are mostly slaves?" "Yes," Eleanor replied. "Though certain mixed lineages give excellent results." Isaiah's fists tightened. Josephine placed a steady hand on his arm. They had to hear more. "Do you think these methods could be expanded?" Blackwood asked. "Certainly," Eleanor answered. "Imagine plantations across the South producing not just crops, but a perfected human stock, strong, obedient, and intelligent. The future lies here." Blackwood's next question came cold and quiet. "And your daughters, do they accept their part in this plan?" "Why, Lieutenant?" Lenena asked with a cold laugh. "With you, of course. Your bloodline, discipline, and intellect, all valuable traits for our program. You'll be rewarded generously. Your brother Thomas has agreed to a similar arrangement with Caroline." Hidden in the narrow passage, Josephine covered her mouth to silence a gasp. Isaiah's hand inched toward the knife at his belt, but she stopped him. They needed evidence, proof, and witnesses before exposing Elenina to mine. "I see," Blackwood replied after a pause. "And Dr. Parnell oversees the medical division?" "Yes," Lenena said proudly. "He's vital. His studies on hereditary traits are decades ahead of European science. Together, We're shaping methods that will redefine how humans are bred. As Lanena described her monstrous vision, Isaiah and Josephine carefully pushed the hidden door open wider. They could see down the infirmary's corridor. At the far end stood Lanena with Blackwood beside one of the patient rooms. Dr. Parnell had joined them, reading from his notes about the women inside the observation rooms. "My sister," Isaiah whispered quickly. "She should be in the recovery ward, third door on the right. That's what Phyllis said." Josephine nodded. "We need a distraction." Before they could plan, the main doors slammed open. Caroline Tain appeared, drenched from the storm, eyes wide and wild, clutching her father's pistol in her shaking hand. "Mother," she cried, "Josephine and Beatrice are gone, and I found this in the tunnel." She held up Josephine's journal, its pages fluttering. "They know everything. They mean to expose us." Lanena's face turned to stone. "Find them," she ordered. "Search every house and field. They must not escape the plantation." In the passageway, Isaiah and Josephine exchanged a grim glance. Their chance for stealth was gone. Now they had only one hope: to reach Ruth and flee before the Tain estate consumed more lives. Blackwood had seen horror before: villages destroyed, disease sweeping through camps, and men broken by cruelty. But nothing in his past matched the cold, organized evil of Elianina Tain's breeding project. As Caroline's shout echoed through the infirmary, Blackwood used the chaos to edge away from Lanena and the doctor. Inside his coat was not just his military papers, but also credentials as a federal investigator sent from Washington to confirm rumors of illegal human breeding. "Mrs. Tain," he said calmly, "perhaps your daughter just went for a walk." "Do not mock me," Elianina snapped. "Caroline, call Mr. Webb and the overseers. Question every slave. Search the grounds. Dr. Parnell, secure our records and be ready to relocate the subjects." As Caroline ran into the rain, Blackwood noticed movement at the end of the hall. A door cracked open, a man's face flashing for an instant before vanishing. The new house slave, he realized. The one who had watched him carefully during dinner. "Dr. Parnell," Lanena continued, unaware, "perhaps you should show the lieutenant your lab while I direct the search." Parnell nodded. "This way, sir. You'll find our results most impressive." Blackwood followed through a narrow passage, thinking fast. His mission had been to gather information quietly and return with marshals to shut the operation down. But with the Tain daughters at risk and a hunt underway, plans had to change. "Our breeding methods are modeled after proven animal husbandry," Parnell explained as they descended a stairway. "We have adapted the system for humans, with remarkable outcomes." "And these are documented?" Blackwood asked evenly. "Exhaustively," Parnell replied. 2 decades of data, proof that traits can be strengthened through deliberate selection." His tone was detached, as if discussing crops instead of people. At the bottom, they reached a heavy door. Parnell took out a key but paused, studying Blackwood. "You look uneasy, Lieutenant. Second thoughts about Mrs. Tain's offer?" Blackwood remained calm. "Just realizing how large this operation is. It's far beyond what I expected." Reassured, Parnell unlocked the door. "Here we keep all our records and specimens. You'll understand the importance once you—" He stopped short. The room was in disarray. "Someone's been here," he said sharply. "Some records are gone." Blackwood stepped closer, scanning the open cabinets. "Maybe Mrs. Tain moved them." "No," Parnell replied quickly. "Not like this." He searched the shelves. The Tain lineage charts and next-generation plans, they're missing. Blackwood seized the moment. "Doctor, we should return upstairs. There may be a breach." A scream echoed from above. Parnell stiffened. That came from the recovery ward. They raced up the stairs, Blackwood keeping a careful distance behind. The corridor above was chaos. 2 enslaved women had escaped and were fighting with Nurse Hammond. At the far end, Lanena barked orders at the house staff. Amid the confusion, Blackwood spotted Isaiah leading a young woman, Josephine, toward a side exit. Beatrice was nowhere in sight. Acting fast, Blackwood reached into his coat, pulling not a gun but a silver whistle. He blew 3 sharp blasts, an army signal to the marshals positioned around the plantation. The piercing sound froze the room. Lanena turned, fury flooding her face. "You!" she hissed. "You're not one of us!" "Federal investigator," Blackwood replied, showing his badge. "This operation ends tonight," Lanena laughed coldly. "You fool. Do you think I'm unprotected? Charleston's judges profit from my work. The governor himself supports it." "Perhaps," Blackwood said calmly, "but I answer to Washington. Stopping this is federal law." Parnell began edging toward the door, eyes darting. Blackwood kept him in sight. "The only question," he said to Lanena, "is whether you face justice alone or drag your allies down with you." Lanena's voice dropped to a dangerous calm. "Lieutenant, your reach ends here. My overseers are armed and loyal. Your marshals will never breach our gates." She shouted, "Mr. Webb, we have an intruder." The overseer appeared, flanked by armed men eager to fire. Then Caroline burst in, muddy and frantic. "Mother, Josephine and that slave fled through the north fields with one of the breeding women." Lanena's focus snapped toward the woods. "Stop them! Retrieve the papers!" In the tunnel below, Josephine and Isaiah pressed flat against the earth, hearing the commotion above. Josephine's journal felt heavy against her chest. Isaiah listened for footsteps. Voices shouted, boots pounded, gates slammed. The storm outside still lashed the windows. They crawled forward, inch by inch, through the damp tunnel. Ruth was their last hope. Ruth, who knew the marshal's routes and had promised to wait by the old ash tree near the north fence. If they could reach her, they might still escape. But they couldn't leave the documents behind. The stolen papers were proof of everything: the charts, the ledgers, the financial records showing the entire scheme. Above them, searchers shouted and metal scraped against stone. One wrong move and they'd be caught. Isaiah shifted silently, opening the grate that led toward the ash tree. They slipped through, cold air hitting their faces as they crawled out near the edge of the fields. The rain had softened to mist. The ash tree loomed ahead, dark against the gray sky. Ruth waited there, cloaked and alert, with 2 riders and saddled horses. She handed Josephine a bundle wrapped in oilcloth. "Keep this safe," she whispered. "I'll lead them off." "I can't leave without my sister," Josephine said. "Then help me," Ruth answered. "We'll draw them apart." Isaiah nodded once. There was no time left. They mounted and rode hard through the muddy road, rain stinging their faces. Behind them came the shouts of pursuit. They reached the ferry, where Webb and his men tried to block the dock. In a sudden burst of courage, Josephine lunged at Webb, catching him off guard. Ruth shielded the crying baby while Isaiah wrestled another overseer to the ground. Moses, the ferryman, raised his gaff hook, forcing the attackers back toward the water. Blackwood galloped up and dismounted, pistol raised. "Go, now!" he commanded. Ruth and Josephine scrambled aboard the flat-bottomed ferry. Webb aimed his gun, but Blackwood fired first, his bullet striking the wood beside Webb's boot. The overseers hesitated, fear overtaking rage. Moses pushed the ferry into the current. Water splashed over the deck as they drifted downstream. Josephine held the baby close while Isaiah scanned the opposite bank. "Are we safe?" Ruth asked quietly. "For now," Josephine said, glancing toward the fading outline of the plantation. "But we're not free yet." Blackwood rode along the shore. "There's a shallow bend ahead," he called. "We can cross unseen." Josephine handed him part of the documents and a gold locket. "Keep these safe. They'll expose everything." He nodded and tucked them away as the first light broke through the clouds. The storm had passed, but their fight for freedom had only begun.